Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
This is Mr. Chris Claremont, a legend.
Melanie goes,
Tired.
Happy Monday, all you minties. Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for my advanced overview of the Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 1 from Marvel Comics. Just in time for that movie. So this is the new printing we're going to be looking at. So let's go ahead and get started. Back in print. All right, what we're looking at here is the fourth printing of the Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 1. Believe it or not, this was the very first official Marvel Omnibus. So much so that when it was originally released, it was the red on white instead of the white on red now. The Fantastic Four, of course, the logo was a lot bigger. Lee, Kirby, and then that image of Mr. Fantastic Volume 1. Now, this is the direct market cover, of course, supplied by the legendary Jack the King Kirby. And on the left-hand side is your standard edition cover. This is the one supplied by Alex Ross and will be available everywhere. Marvel was kind enough to send me 2 copies of it. So I may take this to Heroes Con to give away or just give away to some random viewer during our giveaways. The spines of the books, Marvel Omnibus, Fantastic Four, image of the Four when it's the standard edition, and then image of Mr. Fantastic. So when you put it on your shelf, yes, the volumes that are direct market covers do have just one single character. When it's the standard edition cover, it's all 4 of the characters. So remember that if you're putting them on your shelf and you need somebody like the Human Torch like I do. And then the backs of the books right here. The covers that are collected in here, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby revolutionized superhero comics on the Fantastic Four. That is a true statement. And then the Marvel logo down there, and the ISBN, and what it collects. And I have my third printing right here, which I'll be doing a comparison of. And one of the things that they did already, as you can see, is that they fixed the cover from the third printing. It was not the right size, I think is what happened, but it is fully blown up now. So rest assured that has been fixed. Underneath the dust jacket, let's look over here between the third and fourth printing, same thing, and then the back of the books. All right, we are going to crack this open and check this out. We'll do a comparison to the third printing in a little bit. Talk about the story. So I don't think I looked, and I don't think I've done an overview of the Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 1 on the channel. I think I just ended up, skipping it for some reason. So here we go. It's now time to atone for my sins. Let's do it. All right, let's go ahead and get this latest printing open. I can tell you right now, right away, this is different than the third printing and every other printing. They were using that Masterworks style end sheets. The Fantastic Four Volume 1, what it collects, and of course the folks behind the restoration, and of course putting the book together. And over here are the credits: Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, George Klein, Sal Brodsky, Joe Sinnott, Steve Ditko. Those are some of your inkers. Of course, Jack Kirby drawing the entirety of the book. And lettering by Art Simek, Joe Duffy, and others. And then, unfortunately, the colorist is uncredited because they weren't crediting colorists back then. A wonderful introduction here by none other than Stan Lee. Talking about the characters that were introduced through these very pages, because this is really the beginning of the Marvel age, the Marvel era of comics, the superhero comics because of this. Because up until this point, with Atlas and everything that they were doing, horror comics, they were doing sci-fi comics, they were doing Western comics, and they were doing... What are they called? Girl comics? I can't call them girl comics, right? Like Millie the Model or Patsy. But this is really the introduction of these characters that will become superheroes. Yes, there's elements of Jack Kirby's giant monsters, like his monster comics, but this still introduced the idea of superheroes. And they're very unique superheroes because they're not superheroes at all. They're a family. Collected in here is Fantastic Four 1 through 30 and Fantastic Four Annual Number 1. The book has 928 pages and retails for $125. Look, these stories are from 1961. But just in case spoilers, I know that the stories are old, but, you know, if you're a fan of Silver Age and you haven't read these, this is the definition of Silver Age comics to me. Like, I love this stuff. Although some people would argue, of course, you know, by this point we had moved on and now it's the Marvel. Anyway, I'm not here to argue. I only argue with myself. So, we quickly are introduced to these characters that can use powers. And weird powers at that. A guy that can turn himself to fire. A guy that is made of rock. A woman that can turn, or a young lady rather, that can turn herself invisible. And then a man that can stretch. And all of them working together. And how they got there, we find out really quickly in issue number 1. When it was a rocket ship, and again, products of their time, right? 1961, we were trying to beat Russians up to the space race. No way they could beat Americans, but here we go. This is what happens. They get hit by radiation waves, and that gives them powers. One of them, unfortunately, cannot turn back into a human, and that is Ben Grimm, the Thing. So here we meet in the first issue their first villain, and that is the Mole Man with the Moloids and a bunch of these monsters that come from underground. So that's the first issue. I mean, there's so many firsts here. This is, again, before Avengers. This is before the X-Men. This was the superhero comic, and it blew up. People were eating it up. It's amazing just how much is introduced through these very pages. We have the first appearance of the Skrulls. So technically the very first alien race within Marvel Comics. I'm not talking about the monster comics or sci-fi comics. I'm talking about the superhero comics. And of course have made it into the movies. I love the pinup. The Rock, by the way, starts evolving too, just like Jack Kirby's artwork. We get lesser known characters like Miracle Man through here. And by now we got costumes. Believe it or not, they don't really appear in costume. Is it issue number 3 that I think that's their first appearance of the costumes? Yeah, issue number 3 is their first appearance. Because if you saw issue number 1, you know, they're being held by monsters. Issue number 2, they're being attacked by the Skrulls. But their costumes in the Fantastic Car don't appear until issue 3. Another big, not first appearance, but reappearance is that of Namor, the Submariner. They were testing the waters with this character. This is a character from the Golden Age. He was a homeless man until Johnny Storm's like, wait a second, I recognize this cat. And I love the way he shaves his beard. Shaves his beard, and sure enough, it's Namor. And already being kind of a prick, just claiming war on the surface. The 5th issue, one of the most important, if not the most important issue ever for this era of comics, and that is first appearance of Dr. Doom. By now, we do have other comic books like the Hulk. I love that Johnny is reading the Hulk here. And we started getting more and more. You know, by the time we got to 62, we started getting more. By 63, we have a bunch of superheroes. 62, of course, giving us Spider-Man. That's why that's important. But by 63, it's Spider-Man, Thor, X-Men. X-Men and Avengers were introduced in 63. The very first superhero or supervillain team-up happens through these pages with Dr. Doom and Namor, and of course one manipulating the other. And we still get this classic artwork here from Jack Kirby. And we'll do a comparison to the 3rd printing. This is the introduction of the Puppet Master and Alicia Masters, his daughter, who eventually will fall in love with the Thing, and then the return. There's a lot of Namor that happens through these pages. It is a character that they were bringing back, and you know, to an extent, it's really interesting because the Human Torch, not Johnny Storm, but the Human Torch himself, the android, was one of these Golden Age characters. And to see them fight again just made it for a really cool story. You're going to be seeing time travel through this story. You're going to see alternate Earths through this story. An evil version of Mr. Fantastic. And just like all of the Omnis from this era, letter pages. Introductions again by Stan Lee. So you'll get 3 introductions because I believe this makes up 3 masterworks. No, I'm pretty sure it does. And you get characters, like supporting characters, like Willie Lumpkins here. It's just magical moments. And see what I meant by the evolution of the Thing? By now he is looking more Rocky. This is the first appearance of the Impossible Man, a character that was so hated that apparently letter pages, or the letters that were going to Marvel, really affected Stan Lee, that he was like, okay, no more Impossible Man, until Roy Thomas talked him into letting him bring the character back. We do get the fight between the Hulk and the Thing. That is an epic battle that happens between these 2 characters. We get the Red Ghost appearing here for the first time with his apes. So a lot of really important characters, a lot of really important villains appear through here. There's a character that will appear here in a little bit that plays, to me, a big important part in the lore of the Fantastic Four and the entirety of the Marvel Universe. And again, we get the return of Namor. I swear he just keeps coming back. Sometimes it's to kidnap Sue. Other times it's to try to destroy the world. We get the Mad Thinker and his android right here. Characters that, of course, have been updated over the years. Letter pages intact. A special guest star with Ant-Man. I'm going to skip through here because I don't want to go through every issue. Kind of recapping everything would just be silly because what's the point? Well, although some people have told me that they like when I talk about these stories. I do love the restoration that comes to this. By now, we do have the Super Skrull. I really do think like Corey Settlemeyer and his team have really set the bar so high when it comes to restoring these books. These pieces of art that they go and restore to the original art. And because of the glossy paper stock, they try to get it to the truest color that they can. Of course, we've had different collections over the years. We've had the Taschen collection, and we've had I think even Penguin Random House has done their own collection. And you can see the differences in the restoration and how the books themselves are reprinted. To me, it's just interesting. And honestly, it's one of those things that, you know, everybody likes it a little bit different. Like, everybody likes their collections, their classic stories collected in their own way. Like, I know people love the Masterworks, and I know some people love the Taschen books, which have that thick, matte, almost like a newsprint type of paper stock. Spider-Man tries to join the Fantastic Four, showing off his powers. I love that in the annuals, they always have like these pinups in case you missed issues, because back then, you know, there weren't reprints up until they started doing like the supersized specials and things like that. This is a very important comic that I was talking about. This is the first appearance of Rama-Tut, or perhaps Kang the Conqueror, right? Because it was retconned later that they're the same character. But Rama-Tut making his first appearance here. This is first before Kang appeared in the comics of the Avengers. So, of course, that's not bringing up the fact about Nathaniel Richards or any of the other characters that he's supposed to be. Molecule Man also making an appearance through here. Okay, this is fun to go through each and every one of these issues. Or maybe it's just fun for me. The Watcher making an appearance through here, looking a little jaundiced right there. Of course, colors back then were always being changed. You can see the difference when somebody else is inking Jack Kirby's pencils, how thick those lines are. Hate Monger. Now, I know in this story, it's revealed who he is. Again, spoilers. I think it's Hitler, if I'm not mistaken. But later on, of course, it was retconned that he wasn't, so he's just spreading hate with this Ku Klux Klan, very Grand Wizard type of outfit that he was wearing. Obviously, they knew what they were doing. But yeah, it's revealed that it's Hitler. Of course, later on, that was retconned. Mole Man making a return, back by popular demand. I'm sure a lot of the fans really liked the returning villains from that very first debut issue. By now you can see the inks are a little bit different. This is a letter right here from Dave Cockrum. Very interesting. You're going to see a lot of letters like from future, not just writers or artists for Marvel Comics. You have Roy Thomas over here, but like letters from, I remember, was it in the Fantastic Four that George R.R. Martin had a letter? I think it's like one of the third volume, if I'm not mistaken. Dr. Doom making a return through here in this issue, but successfully capturing the Fantastic Four in that issue. And then we have this issue, The Infant Terrible. This is all about this alien child who has this immense amount of powers and just kind of wreaks havoc. So it's not like a true villain. Very unique type of character to fight for the Fantastic Four. And again, the artwork, we're getting a little bit different depending on who the inker was. I love looking at these letter pages because you have Don Glued. But letter pages just tell you how people were feeling back then, what they liked, what they didn't like. The showdown again between the Hulk and the Thing happening here in this very issue. And then we also have a guest appearance by the Avengers showing up. It's pretty cool because now we're just growing and growing. You know, we have I've always loved that cover. Love that cover. You know, it's showing you just how big the Marvel Universe is. And this is like your first, I want to say this is one of the early first two-parters that they had, that the story continued of the Thing fighting the Hulk. And then Submariner making a return, kidnapping Sue Storm. Wow. Inked by Geo Bell. My goodness. But also, another character showing up through here, Doctor Strange. Again, the universe is just getting bigger and bigger. I can't imagine what it was like just living then and like reading this and going, who the hell are the X-Men? I don't know who those characters are. They have their own comic book. So this is the story of the Mad Thinker and the Puppet Master teaming up, and the Puppet Master ends up taking over Professor Xavier, and as Professor Xavier, he gets the X-Men to fight against the Fantastic Four. That cover's great. I wanted to come back here. Was this one of the letter pages? I seem to remember one of the letters from another Marvel writer at the time. It must have been no, maybe it was the Louisville, Kentucky. Kentucky represent. Anybody else do that? Like, was jealous of the letters being printed when you were young, and you were like, wait a second, they're out of Kentucky. Oh my gosh, they're only like 30 minutes away. Oh my gosh, that letter was written in 1963 or 2. Wonder if they're still around reading the Fantastic Four. This is the story about how the Fantastic Four go all the way from New York City, and it shows the return of the Red Ghost again, and they end up on the Watcher's moon base. And this is when, of course, Jack the King Kirby was experimenting with like those photos, like inserting photos into the panels. I thought it was really cool, way ahead of its time, and I'm sure it saved him some time. And then the final issue that is collected in here has our first appearance of Diablo. And this is when the Fantastic Four decide to go to Transylvania on vacation, because that just seems like the hot spot to go, or at least it was back then. The Thing looking a little bit more human because of interesting turn of events that are happening within the comic book here. But they end up getting lost. They go into this big castle, and it's just a fun story about the Fantastic Four fighting off against this new villain named Diablo. And that's where it ends. And then your letter pages. So let's look at the extras here, because I assume they added things in this one. Let's look. You have the Tom DeFalco introduction, the Roy Thomas introductions, Paul Gambazzini. Mark Evanier article talking about the different bullpen. Walter Mosley, document of the Marvel's Fantastic Four Volume 1 cover production photostat, featuring the original version of the artwork referred to as the Missing Man cover for the policeman who was added later. Oh. And then this one here is featuring the cover copy, which put the Fantastic Four's hero identities despite their plain clothes appearance. Oh, so what I was just talking about, it wasn't until the third one. This is the unused cover here by Jack Kirby and Sal Brodsky. House ads, and then of course what we love to see, or I love to see, original artwork in here. Again, you can see like when Joe Sinnott is inking it, when Sal Brodsky's inking Jack Kirby, and then later on Dick Ayers and other inkers having a shot at Jack Kirby. This is Steve Ditko from the 13th issue. And house ads, more original art. Annual number 1 house ad. I'm skipping a little bit through here. Unused cover right here. Man, there is a lot of extras. And I know the third printing did too, which we'll do a little comparison. Yowza, still cannot. What a knockout. I'll still do a comparison to the third printing of the book. And then these are the reprints that they were using back then. And Fantastic First trade paperbacks, special edition covers here from none other than John Byrne, adding to the story. Oh, that's really cool. Like taking on the Jack Kirby art. Pinups by John Byrne. Fantastic Four trade paperback 1 by Alan Davis, and then of course the painted covers by Jack Kirby, but also Dean White. And there we go, the Mighty Marvel Masterworks. I don't think these two were added in the third printing, 1961. I do really like that cover by Javier Rodriguez, and then of course the Alex Ross cover with a frame. Let's look at the binding, and then we'll do a comparison. 928 pages, $125, printed at the Donley printer, and sewn binding, printed in this glossy paper stock. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and do alright, let's go ahead and get these opened. So this is what I meant by your end sheets had more of a Marvel Masterworks look to it. Both of these, by the way, printed at the Donley printer. We're looking at the third printing. I don't have my first printing. I gave that away a long time ago. I don't think I ever had the... No. I had the second printing I gave away. I never had the first printing. This one was printed in 2021 by the Donley printer. Same printer. And honestly, paper stock feels about the same. Let's look and check out the restoration, though. It's been a couple of years, and we've had Remasterworks. And just looking at the colors. And... It might be that they are using, and you can, I mean, they've done such a good job with the restorations on these. It might be that they're using new scans. I'm just basing it on the inks, books themselves. Okay. Not that there's anything wrong with this one, too. This is great. One of the things, though, is there are definitely lots of extras here, because this book has 928 pages, the new printing. The third printing, and I guess every other printing before then, let's go ahead and look, only has 848 pages. Not a lot of extras. As a matter of fact, these are the only extras it has. So you've got the Reflections by Stan Lee. This actually adds more introductions. And just kind of give you an idea, there's a lot of extras that is included over here. So typewritten plot synopsis, that's in there. But over here, I mean, you've got stuff from Mark Evanier, Walter Mosley. Like, this is it. There's no Mighty Marvel Masterwork covers, but there's no original art over here. Okay, I take it back. There is some original art, but this is how they have it in thumbnail size, whereas over here, they've got a lot more original art. That is crazy. I didn't realize they were going to be adding a lot more. That's really cool, including the John Byrne stuff. And again, more of the original art, the trade paperback covers. I'm surprised these didn't make it. They were doing that by then. Maybe they were just doing straight up reprints here. And they decided to take this chance to use newer scans and also add in new extras. Very cool. So if you missed out on it, yeah, this has got a lot more. But that is it. That is the Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 1 reprint. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. In the comments down below, let me know if you are picking this up in case you missed out on it, which cover you're going to get, and also if you need a reprint of Volume 2. I think I've seen in the comments earlier on, maybe it was one of my other videos that I was doing, that there was a need for a reprint of Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 2. But leave those comments down below, smash that like button on the way out. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.